How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Talk4 Podcast. So excited to have you here today and show you this fantastic episode. Just want to say quickly that episodes like this one and all the ones before and the ones in future are made possible by people who subscribe. Hopefully, just like you. I'm going to ask you today if you can leave a subscribe, leave a follow, leave a rating, leave a like or a comment, and just support the show in the little ways that you can, like that. It makes a huge difference on my end. And quickly, just want to plug as well. I've taken 30 of the best episodes of this podcast and turned them into a fantastic book that goes into 150 secrets to greatness. Each one of those 30 episodes gets crunched down into 5 of the best key takeaways from the whole talk and turns them into a fantastic book. Highly recommend you check it out. Please support the show by grabbing a copy, either a paperback or an ebook. And I can't wait to show you guys this one today. So guys, without further ado, let's get over to the episode. How's it going, guys? Welcome to episode 166 of Talk4, the Quickfire podcast, where we ask 4 great questions to unique and interesting people. Behind the mic today is your host, Skupien. That's me. Let me introduce our very special guest for today, Mark Fox, who's going to be answering some questions today. So, Mark, let's start with the important stuff. How are you doing today? And welcome to the show. This is going to be a great talk. Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, I'm doing fantastic today. It's stopped raining finally after about a week here. I'm in Cocoa Beach, Florida. But yeah, everything's going good. We're really busy. The company's growing really fast. We're struggling with all that stuff, trying to hire people quick and manage cash flow and all the things that come with, I don't know if I'm officially a startup anymore, but somewhere in that phase of small business. But yeah, everything's going well.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, hard to imagine it's raining in Florida. Out here in the UK, it's pretty awful at the moment, and I feel like I've shut the industrial shutters on our business more times than I can count over the last week, as it continuously changes. But good to know it's not just here and it is over the pond too. But everything you're doing looks great, and I'm just super excited to have this talk today. So let's get you up to speed with just everyone here listening, what you do basically. So we always have this 30 to 60 second kind of elevator pitch, really. And like I said before we got on the show, hilarious trying to listen to such impressive people try and condense what they do into short little bite-sized formats. So let's give you that shot. So around a minute elevator pitch, how would you describe what you do day to day, and a little bit of an intro just into the life of you? That's a great place we can start at.
Yeah, what I'm doing today is I'm building energy therapy devices. What does that mean? It's devices, mostly PEMF, but we have some light ones coming out as well, that just put energy into your body so your body can do what it does best, which is heal itself. I didn't anticipate getting in any of this space at all. I grew up here in Cocoa Beach area where we launched rockets. My dad was in rockets. I didn't want anything to do with rockets, but me and my best friend was a nuclear physicist and I was a chemical engineer. And we were hanging drywall for $3.50 an hour because nobody was hiring anyone in 1983 when I graduated college. So it's like, so somebody said, "Hey, did you put your resume into the Space Shuttle program?" I'm like, "No." So I did. Ended up getting a job there, and I'm like, "I'll just do this for a couple months till I find something else." So I was there for about 16, 17 years. Like things happen, right? Then I got into creative thinking. I wrote a couple books on that for businesses. I was doing keynote presentations. I worked for iMega Zip Drive for a while. A lot of different things. I know enough about DNA to be dangerous. So I created music and art from DNA from a saliva sample.
Wow.
Anyway, so my wife goes, "Well, how many companies have you started in the last 10 years?" I'm like, "I don't know." She goes, "Go count them." It was like 12. And so it's like, all right, I got a t-shirt for each one of the failed team or whatever didn't work, because it all comes down to the marketing piece of it and can you afford to make noise? So that's the lessons I learned and have learned along with other entrepreneurs and companies and stuff is, in the old days, you'd make it for $1, you wholesale it for $2 and retail it for $4. You get murdered with that model. You have to have a 10x markup because Mark Zuckerberg's taking all your money. So the marketing cost, the marketing to make noise on Facebook and Google and radio and TV and all that is way more expensive than the product, so we do that. I mean, I'm part of a nonprofit where we used to ask those 3 questions, right? When they come in, startup companies, like, what problem are you trying to solve? How many people have that problem? Why is your solution better than anyone else's? We don't even get to those questions anymore. We just say, what's your realistic retail price and what's the cost? And if you don't have 10x, go find another job. Go do something else, because You're going to do it, marked it on 12 other companies. It's not have enough money to market it because it wasn't enough margin. So that's super lame and non-technical and very simple, but it's like that is the reality of where we're at 2025. At least my experience and all my colleagues, we all saying the same thing. It's so expensive to run marketing. So anyway, how I got into this was my dog couldn't come up the stairs one day. She ended up having arthritis in her spine. A veterinarian friend of mine told me, hey, there's this magic energy machine that can reverse arthritis. I'm like, well, that's BS, but I'm a rocket scientist. I'm skeptical as hell, but it's my dog. So I'm going to look into it. And sure enough, you learn more and more about the technology. That's how I got into it. And I saw what it could be or what it was doing with PTSD and trauma. But I thought it was criminal because it's being held hostage with expensive machines and in a clinical environment. So I naively set out to say, I need to take this technology, make it an affordable device that people can carry in their pocket that most everyone can afford. So that was the naiveness that I went into to create the first product. It was way harder to build than I designed and I thought it would be, but it's here now and it works fantastic. So that part's exciting.
It's all exciting. You know, on this podcast, we've had some really high performance people from different industries, but one of the ones that people really love is just aviation and NASA. We've had some great people from there. We've had some astronauts as well, NASA astronauts. And I would love to just go back a bit, rewind and see kind of like some of those things that you maybe picked up along the way there and just sort of the career progression that you had really within NASA as well and how that sort of laid the groundwork, I guess, for what you're doing now. Because clearly, you know, listening to what you're doing, entrepreneurial spirit, you've clearly got a very, very intelligent head on your shoulders there. And, you know, NASA would have noticed that too. So I'd love to learn a little bit about kind of what you found in the culture at NASA that really sort of was interesting, the jobs that you did there, and just go into that a little bit and describe it. And then I think we're going to kind of like round off there and then go into just how all of those lessons took you to what you're doing now. So tell me all about NASA. How was that experience? I heard you had a lot of great work done at the Space Shuttle.
Yeah, so I worked on, and this is a misconception because NASA doesn't have that many employees. They don't really build anything, right? They're the government, so they're paying vendors. So I worked for Morton Thiokol, which built the solid rocket boosters. So my last job there was chief engineer on the solid rocket boosters. I was the youngest chief engineer at the age of 31, which sounds impressive. I use that for marketing. It's not that impressive, but is the thing that was weird on the space shuttle program is rocket scientists are very, very conservative. You wouldn't think so, but especially a manned vehicle like the space shuttle. So people would not make decisions. They're afraid to make decisions. So to get an engineer or manager that will make a decision without all the information and data, right? It wasn't hard to get promoted if you're a decision maker, right? The other one that's key is, and it's very simple, and I even put this in my latest book, is just presenting. Now, most people in a corporate world get to present to their boss's boss maybe once a year, right? So if you can present well, right, your communication's well, you get asked a complicated question, and you got to sometimes dumb it down for your customer, NASA, because they're not in the weeds. So you got to communicate clearly, and you can't stand up there and say, yeah, I'll have to check with my team. You can do that once a year, right? But you can't, every question can't be, I'm not sure, I got to check with my team, because you lose confidence to presenting to your customer. So just simple stuff that's non-technical, which is how do you communicate sometimes complex problems into something simpler. And so I got nicknamed Mr. Teflon because whenever I got asked questions, they kind of bounced off me, because I always told it when I go, if you're not 3 layers deep and you're working on the space shuttle program, you need to be fired, because you need to know your product well enough to at least ask 3 levels. You may not know level 22 because you got a PhD in the back room, burning stuff and doing something with that. But for the most part, you need to know 90% of what's going on and understand it technically. So that's kind of what happened. The shuttle program was a 30-year experiment, was never in production. It was always super fun and fascinating to watch a launch. But man, it's the government. They're very slow to adopt new things and very slow to get rid of old stuff. So even though it looks really cool, there's still a lot of old school technology that I mean, the joke is the power in your cell phone today is more power than the space shuttle entire computer system, right? It's just that's reality. So it's just hard to do things faster and more creative. So that part was a little frustrating. You can get burned out after 15, 16 years of that. So I
Interesting.
actually, yeah, actually, when people ask why did you leave aerospace, it's a weird answer. It's going to be because I got offered another big promotion. And I thought to myself, I've been there 16, 17 years. I could see the environment is if you take that job, you'll never have another career, right? You're stuck. So I'm like, ooh, thank you. That was a fantastic offer, but I'm going to change jobs. That's when I went to building airplanes for Parker Hannifin and iOmega, and then did a bunch of other things that led to this energy therapy stuff.
Interesting. I'd love to just pick up a couple of the lessons that I've sort of heard along the way there, really within the NASA stuff before we move on to what you're doing now. But I think something to be learned from that there is that when you're dealing in a business or a corporation or a company where the leadership is slow, right? And there's stuff from above that just isn't up with the times, and you've got, heads and people working, brains that want to go 1,000 miles an hour, but you've got a leadership and technology that's just not moving fast enough. If people feel like that too in their jobs, where their bosses or leadership and stuff just isn't moving quick enough for them and stuff, how do you sort of make that decision, I guess? Because I imagine a lot of people would want to just stick with the money or the security of that job, but they may not feel like they're fulfilling their potential. So I guess mindset wise as well, what was your sort of take on leaving that job? How did you come to that decision? Because I can imagine, rocket science, NASA, that probably was a pretty secure financial job for you. So how did you sort of make that decision?
Not real secure. When I think we had 9 layoffs in the years I was there, which is another vicious cycle the government does. But I'm going to answer your question kind of from a different angle. Maybe is I was actually at a urinal, okay, taking a piss with the
That wasn't
CEO
what I
next
was
to me.
expecting.
Right. And I was so frustrated from the meeting I just came out because I got told no, 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 and no. And I said, why can't I just run a quick 2-week experiment? And he goes, well, I don't want to run an experiment. Why do I care? Okay. So then a couple years later, as this was an example, we're going through a project review, and one guy that was paying attention goes, hey, that project you're talking about right there, you just presented, it's not on the approved project list. I'm like, yeah, it's not an approved project. Well, what is it? I go, it's an experiment. Well, how long have you been doing this experiment? 3.5 years. Why you can't do a 3.5 year experiment? Why don't you kill it? I go, because it made $6 million at the time. You want me to quit? So there's some magic in using the word experiment. It's almost like if you say no, that means you hate America, apple pie, Chevrolet, and everything that's good in the world. Okay. It's like you can't poo-poo an experiment. Go figure out a way to do a 2-week. How can you fail in 2 weeks? Is what I always say is don't come up with a 1 year thing, come up with a 2-week thing to further advance the promise of the idea. So that's one way to get around no, 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 and no, is people feel bad about saying, no, you can't experiment and learn and do anything. Now, no, I just said the space shuttle was a 30-year experiment, right? So to answer your question kind of indirectly is find clever ways to do that without being manipulative, and you're always going to learn something new on the experiment. And then, language that we use is like talking in somebody else's language, right? You got to crawl into their cage and speak the language they speak. And sometimes you don't know what that is till you test it and you find, this made me think of one example. It was General Electric. When I was teaching creative thinking, I started presenting to this guy. It's on a call. It was before Zoom. There was on a telephone conference call. And am I explaining what the program is and and he goes, Mark, I don't want my guys making damn paper airplanes. I'm like, okay. So I have this other course. That's one's called creative thinking. This other course is called systematic idea generation. SIG, it's a 3-letter acronym. TLA. TLA stands for 3-letter acronym. Then I started saying Six Sigma, right? Lean manufacturing, ISO 9000. I said all the things the guy wanted to hear. And he slams his head on the table and goes, why'd you waste our time with that first crap? That's exactly what we need. You're hired. Well, it's the exact same course. It's the exact same presentation, but one's blue slides and one's brown. I just had to put it in the right language so he could understand how I could really help him. because I wasn't, paper airplanes was his language. Six Sigma was. So it was just taking the same content and repackaging it.
Got it. So there are some of the challenges. What were some of the biggest highlights? I mean, for me, as a fan and someone who's always been in this and stuff, working on rocket boosters sounds like a whole lot of fun. So I don't know, from your perspective, was that a daily headache or was that one of the best jobs? Yeah, tell me a little bit about it, some of the highlights there, and any lessons learned during all that too.
Yeah, so we had 1988, the Montreal Protocol outlawed trichloroethane, and it was like the best cleaner in the world, but it was killing the ozone, right? And so we used it in the glue of the joints. I'm trying to, again, drink my own Kool-Aid and simplify this. The joints that are glued together uses that base, okay? So we had to get rid of it, and we came up with a water-based glue. Well, we tested it, and it leaked again. This is after Challenger, right? So we had a vehicle on the pad already to go get an astronaut from the space station. And NASA goes, well, if we can go back to the old glued, can we do that? I'm like, we can, but nobody's ever taken one apart. So you got four, each boosters, they're 30 feet tall, 12 feet in diameter, weigh 300,000 pounds each. And you stick them together with glue to glue them together. And there's static electricity issues and pulling things apart. And so nobody had ever taken a space shuttle and brought it back from the launch pad into the VAB, the vertical assembly building. And so a guy that wasn't my boss, but he was in charge, he was a couple levels above me at the time. He came into my office. He goes, that was your project, the whole glue thing. I've not made a lot of good decisions that I feel really great about, but this one I do. You're in charge of go to Florida and take it apart. I lived in Utah at the time. So I'm like, wow. So I'm responsible for that. And he goes, there's going to be a presentation. You need to have one when you get there. So I had a 4-hour flight from Salt Lake to Orlando and then Kennedy Space Center. And I used my own creative thinking tools of what are all the things you're going to ask. We won't go into the tools here, but I just use those tools. And so I'd be prepared to discuss it. And when I walked in, I was on TV. Nobody told me there was going to be a TV coverage of this. So I'm like, so it made it sound like I knew what the hell I was talking about because I'd used these tools for that 4 hours on the airplane to think through what are all the things they're going to ask, what's the obvious stuff, not so obvious. So that was a pretty cool highlight that that's a long story to your question, is somebody had enough trust in me that just said, I'm picking the right guy for this job. So then you can't fail. Somebody says that and you're doing something that has that much visibility. So that was probably one of the biggest highlights.
Fantastic. So let's
the other good news
into
about that is the astronaut got to set the world's record for the longest time a woman was in space. And she said on TV, well, I was looking forward to getting home and having potato chips, but I guess I'm here for a little bit longer. So she ended up setting the record because she couldn't come home when she was supposed to.
Wow. That is a highlight. I guess in a job like that, doing such complicated work, it's just the little moments and things like that, the funny things that sort of stick with you in some cases. So you took all of this stuff and you're doing your own thing now, really. And it's really interesting. I know you've kind of like alluded a little bit to the backstory there, but I'd love to just dig into exactly what this is then. So, for me, life and sport, seen all sorts of physiotherapy, got some ideas about, how recovery things work and everything, but this is something I hadn't really heard of before. Your name crossed obviously my desk. So your company focuses on pulse electromagnetic field therapy. For those unfamiliar, can you explain what PEMF is, how it works, and why frequency matters when it comes to human health, please?
Yeah, and I will, but I'm going to bring it a higher level for a second because it'll be easier to understand. So it's energy therapy. It's transferring energy to the body, and it can be done multiple ways. It can be done with PEMF, pulse electromagnetic fields. It can be done with electrical current. Now, most people are going to be familiar with a TENS unit, something that has pads on you that stimulates your muscles. Light, vibration, or sound. So you can deliver the energy any of those 5 ways. I chose PEMF because it's the most convenient, because you can put it in your pocket and you forget it's there. You don't have any wires on you. It's not a mat that you have to go lay on. It's not, light therapy. So it's not a red light mat you have to go lay on. So it's just the most efficient way to transfer energy to the body. What is it actually doing? And this is why I get in a lot of debates with doctors, okay, about mechanism of action. And all right, it's like, They don't know how aspirin works either. You have theories, but you've never proven it. You don't know how any drug in the world works. You have theories, but you haven't proven it. So here's what we do know and don't know. So there's a million rabbit holes we can go down, but at the highest level, we know that PEMF increases the voltage on the cells. So your body's cells have voltage on it, just like a car battery. And when that voltage gets low, you get sick. This recharges the cell's batteries. When the voltage is high enough, then you cells can efficiently get nutrients in and waste out. When the voltage is low, it doesn't operate well. Okay, so that's one. Charging your cells' batteries. ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, it's the number one chemical or fuel that your cells use for food. So it increases ATP up to 500%. So those two main things, recharging cells' batteries, increasing the food supply for the cells, which allow your body to do what it does best, heal itself. Now that could be chronic illness, back pain, that can be workout recovery, all those type of things from, athletes in a large workout stuff. There's a lot of other theories and stuff of how it works, but that's it at the highest level that has been proven, that you can see that. You can see you can measure this voltage on the cells, and you can measure the amount of ATP in the blood. So,
Right. So whereabouts are you with this technology then? How new is it? Where is it in kind of like being understood and recognized, on a large scale? Where are the gray areas with it? And, where are the big green areas, would you say then?
Yeah, so only in the United States. So back around early 1900s, Tesla's time, there was a lot worldwide study going on with electrical energy and this type of therapy. Dale Carnegie and Rockefeller are the ones that screwed it up. Okay. Rockefeller owned all the oil, Standard Oil. His team figured out how to make drugs out of oil. And him and Carnegie own the whole medical landscape in the United States. So they basically said, hey, if you're not doing surgery or drugs, buying our stuff, we're going to pull your funding, we're pulling your licenses, your medical licenses. So basically, all that research, the majority of it in the United States stopped. It didn't in the rest of the world, just in the US. So in the US, we're behind. Last 20 or 30 years, more and more people have picked it up. Louis, if you go a man on the street with a microphone, you go, hey, do you know what PEMF is? It's going to be like 1 out of 15 or 1 out of 20 people is going to say yes. They'll know what a beamer mat is or something from their chiropractor or a spa, those type of things. However, in the horse world, everybody knows what this technology is. So MagnaWave has been around for years. It's a gigantic machine, looks like a beer keg with big copper rings, and you treat your horse. So most horse owners have had their horse treated with it, or another horse in their stable has. I have yet to meet a horse owner that doesn't know what this technology is. Now, it's getting more and more popular because the reason people will come find this technology is they have long-term physical pain or long-term mental pain, or usually both. And the other solutions that they've been offered don't work. We all know the side effects at 6 o'clock news of any drug, right? He's got death, anal bleeding, heart attacks. But he's like, what was this even for? So that's how a lot of people will come to it, is they don't like the side effects, or the doctor hasn't been able to help them, or the doctor don't know what it is, right? Which we get a lot of things like that with allergy and other things where they're guessing. Or, yeah, for example, just today, because it's fresh in my mind, several customers, right, are complaining about stomach issues, gut issues. And of course, doctors are trying to treat the gut directly. I'm making an argument. Look at the vagus nerve. Go run the vagus nerve protocols, get your vagus nerve tone. That fixes a ton of stuff, and it can help a lot with gut issues. So there's not a lot of doctors telling people that, right? We just know that from trial and error and looking at vagus nerve. So Lyme disease is another one that, I've had a couple hundred people ask me what you have for Lyme disease 2 years ago. And I'm like, nothing. I don't have anything. But there's so many people with Lyme disease, and the doctors can't do anything for them. And so I researched into that, and we figured out, won't go into the whole protocol, but we believe we had a good protocol now for Lyme disease. It's working for people.
Interesting. So there's your technology. Let's talk about the product then. So if I give people kind of a run through of this, and so the Vibe device is designed to be simple, portable, extremely low energy, about 100,000 times less than a cell phone. So can you just tell us a little bit about this product then? So obviously you've got your tech there. How did you come to kind of create the product? What were you looking to sort of accomplish with it? What were the key highlights that you were looking to get to? Any struggles along the way? And yeah, I mean, obviously, you're looking at this design, therapy accessible. That's the ultimate bottom line of it. So, key benefits as well, just loads about what you've done here.
Yeah, so I jumped in. I mentioned earlier, naively thinking, "I'll just be a coil, a little battery pack. Will be pretty easy to go do." Then, and a little Bluetooth chip. Then I figured out most of the world struggles too much with Bluetooth to even connect it. So,
Hmm.
what it ended up being in the end is I scrapped the original design. It's actually a music player. It's an MP3 player. It just doesn't have a speaker. It has coils instead of a speaker. Actually, every program on the device I wrote with a music synthesizer. They're all MP3s. So it's music that your body can hear, but your ears don't hear it because it's not a traditional speaker. It's putting out energy that your body's absorbing. So that's what it is in a nutshell. And I made it look like an old iPod on purpose. And if you want to really nerd out, I purposely made these colors look like a tricorder on Star Trek, just just for familiarity, right? So that's what it is. It's an MP3 player. All the protocols are there's dual frequency, because everyone goes, what frequencies it run at? Well, it's between 1 and 1,000 hertz, but it's very complex. Think of a chord on a guitar. There's two frequencies at the same time. The frequency pair is the chord. The protocol is the song. So it's changing the chord every 1 to 4 minutes. PTSD is the most complex one. It goes through like 76 different frequency pairs. And the reason I built it is because I saw what it was doing with PTSD and how much it could help. But it's criminal that we didn't have an affordable device initially for, military vets, first responders, cops, medical workers, all that stuff. And that's not that's not counting all the civilians with the trauma and PTSD, right? So just the suicide rate was awful. So we have, I believe, the largest PTSD PEMF study in the world, and we have a 98% success rate with it, which is astronomical. There's nothing else that can touch that. So that's success story. That's super, super, super exciting. There's like 60 protocols out there. Is 60 protocols. 5 of them can be repurposed for 70 other things. But some of the more common ones are anxiety, PTSD and trauma, and anxiety. Anxiety is the number one ailment in all people and pets across the world. So again, this is for people, dogs, cats, and horses. Everyone suffers from anxiety, period. At some point or another, whether it's giving a presentation, you got a wedding coming up, whatever it is, or you live with severe anxiety, chronic anxiety, sleep, back pain, neck pain, blood sugar. We've had huge success with it dropping blood sugar, asthma, allergies, those type of things. Those are the most common ones. And we have success stories all over the place. Louis, I mean, I just hired 3 more people in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I've told them, I go, this is going to be one of the most satisfying jobs you're ever going to have in your life. But this is not Housewives of Orange County crap. This is not a show. This is real people that have trauma, miscarriages, horrible boyfriends or husbands. We have people been tortured, right? Broken ribs, just bad stuff has happened in their life. And you're talking to a real person. So you can't so my whole team, we got to be very careful. We use a lot of AI to help speed things up, but everything's human reviewed of anything we're telling people. So it's a super exciting job. And to watch a dog that can't get off a couch and now can run again, chase a ball, 3 lame horses last week and 1 sanctuary, all are running in a field now. That kind of stuff is just super cool.
So let's go through a client experience then, because I'm pretty curious to learn a little bit more about it. I feel like we've got a good understanding of the product, what it is now, the technology behind it, the history of it, and where it's at, and everything. So let's say someone from this podcast goes and buys one of these products and it arrives at the door, and then they take it out of the box. What can they expect from that then? So they take it out of the box. How are they applying it? How do they, get that therapy and stuff? Can they just carry it around anywhere? Is it always accessible? How do you, charge it? Just bits about what this really is and how it's applied.
Yeah, so there's 60 protocols on them. They're in alphabetical order. You turn it, scroll through the one you want, you hit play. You put it in your pocket, wear it with a lanyard around your neck like this, put it in your pocket, pants pocket, back pocket, whatever. And a lot of women told them not to, but they've been doing it for years. So I gave up. They stick it in their bra. So it just needs to be near their body. It doesn't have to be on the skin, but you want the back of it the closest body as you can get. Those are the protocols. What it's doing, we believe, is resonating with the water in your body. Also, an alternating magnetic field is going to make a very, very small electrical current. Almost no one can feel it, but it's going to give you a full body coverage because your skin and organs are conductive. And we've also discovered, we, being science, is that magnetite, which is the main thing that's in birds and turtles for navigation. Human cells, we've been discovered to have magnetite as well. So if there's magnetite in your body, that could help transfer the energy. So people use it. We tell them 3 to 4 times a week for 30 days. If you don't see a response, and that's the good news, you're not waiting 6 months. It's 3 to 4 times a week for 30 days. If you don't see a result, then you got the wrong protocol, you misdiagnose yourself, or for whatever reason, it's just not going to work. And we don't know why. Most of the protocols are 90% success. The worst one, unfortunately, is prostate. It's probably 65%, which I wish it wasn't, because I got 75, 80-year-old guys calling me every day yelling at me because it didn't work for them. Well, sorry. I don't know why, right? It doesn't work for everyone, but morphine doesn't work for everyone either. I mean, drugs, the success rate of drugs is not that, not that anything to brag about, right? So, but that's how they'd use it. What happens, because you get into all this, how often I have to use it, blah, blah. Somebody that's in long-term chronic physical pain and this helps them, they do not personally care at all about doing a science experiment and say, how much can I cut back and still feel good? They go, screw that. They run it 5 times a day. It's because it's so easy. I tell them not to. You can't overdose or hurt yourself. If you use it way too much, some people will get tired. So they'll just tell them. Usually when somebody goes, hey, it's making me feel tired, I go, how many of you run in a day? And they go, 12. Okay, well, cut back to 2 or 3, right? So that it's that easy to go use. We have some other devices, a vagus nerve toner that I made even simpler. You turn it on and wear it. You can't do anything else. There's nothing to even select or whatever. It's a vagus nerve toner. So that's one's even simpler. And we made it kind of look like cool jewelry, right? So it's like a cool pendant. Wanted to make it a whole lot smaller, but that's the amount of technology we had to quote invent to get it as, because this thing looks like it's heavy. That only weighs a half an ounce, right? It doesn't weigh anything. To get it that light to hang on your neck is a challenge. So you said something earlier too about what the challenge is getting here at the Vibe is trade-offs, right? Is every day, I want a 12-hour battery. Well, it's going to look like a football. And you won't be able to put it on your neck. It'll be too heavy. Well, I want to put out more energy. You don't need more energy. But if it did, it already gets to 105 Fahrenheit. It'd be too hot, right? If you start getting up to 30, 40 Gauss, it's going to be too warm. So all those trade-offs of simplicity, how do you make it easy to design it, not overcomplicate it. Like people sometimes, I want it to beep when it gets to the end. Nope, I'm not going to make it make sound, because I got to be able to tell people it doesn't make sound. So when they get confused, like mine is not making any noise, it's not supposed to. So just trying to keep the design super simple, make it affordable, which was not easy, right? How to mass produce these things, keep them the price range. So all those engineering trade-offs with usability trade-offs. How do I make it simple? I had to kill Bluetooth because people, what would happen actually, Louis, is because it was using a Bluetooth single send to MP3, just like driving in your car, somebody called your phone, it's going to shut off the music. So it was shutting off the program. So I had to scrap the whole Bluetooth design, start over. So
interesting. So if you don't mind me asking as well, so something you mentioned a little bit earlier as well was that there's been a debate, or there is a ongoing debate with doctors about this technology too and stuff. And if you go online, kind of look at it as well, it seems like there is obviously this gray area there too. So however, obviously hearing what you're saying there, the studies that you're doing, the work that you're doing is pushing this thing forward, and you're seeing fantastic results from it then too. I can't help but draw like a little bit of a parallel here between your time at NASA, where what you said was, the leadership and the government almost very slow with that technology and kind of getting up to speed with new things like this too. So is the experience with this technology you're seeing right now kind of a little bit like, or reminding you of that time at NASA where just stuff from above and kind of like the big, big picture, big pharma and stuff, it just isn't really catching on to this yet. And where is kind of like the gray area, what work needs to be done, and how are you guys sort of pushing this mission forwards to get it a little bit more mainstream?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things to comment to there, but pushing. Ask me again because I just got confused on how I wanted to respond to that.
Yeah,
Ask me
that's
again.
good. So I just think I'm drawing this parallel here between obviously, as I mentioned, your time at NASA, where looking at what you were saying, you had this leadership and it just the technology was just slower than the minds there were sort of producing it. And you're here
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now where you're pushing this thing forward, you're doing the work to get it to where it needs to be, trying to get it more mainstream. But you said that there is debate and a gray area, and there are people with differing opinions. So what are those opinions, and how are you kind of like pushing this narrative forwards and showing people that this actually is super successful, which clearly from the studies it is?
yeah. I mean, so to simplify that question in my mind, I'm going to say, how come everyone doesn't know about it? The answer is fairly simple. People don't know about it because the drug companies own the airwaves, right? The most expensive ads in the world are 6 o'clock news. All of them are drug commercials, right? So they own the airways. There is never going to be an acceptance from pharma because it's not a consumable product, right? They don't want that. They want consumable pills and shots. So they don't want to fix you. They want to keep feeding you the drugs. 75% of the FDA's research budget is funded by Pfizer, Merck, and Eli Lilly, by the big drug companies. So all of that, why you haven't heard it, you can go on forever. Doctors are not trained on this, most of them. Their continuing education, which is required, most continuing education for an MD is going to resort somewhere that the drug companies paid for them to introduce the new drug to you. There's not these alternative therapies. Now there's more and more and more people getting on board with it, and more doctors are quitting their practice to try and do some more natural, alternative ways to go do this. So that's part of it. The other piece of frustration is if a new technology in the medical world actually gets accepted, which is very, very, very few, it will still take, if it was accepted today, it would still take 15 years to get to mainstream medical, just to get into your family doctor to suggest it or even know about it. That's just the history of the new technology. Hopefully that changes. There's too much miracles with stem cells and all this other stuff that we have right now that we can't wait 15 years to get that to people because they'll be dead. Okay. The ones that can't wait 15 years or 15 months. So hopefully that changes, gets more experimental. Hopefully, don't want to talk politics at all, but hopefully Kennedy and Trump shook up the FDA a little bit to make things a little easier for people to test, right? Do stuff. Kennedy's text before he was even in office was that FDA's war on public health is about to end. Peptides, this, that, and all the stuff you're blocking, not allowing anyone to use, is we're going to try and put an end to it. Whether he does or helps put a dent in that, maybe. But yeah, just the medical world is very slow to adopt anything new, and even worse to get rid of something they already have. Right? I've already got something. I've been using this for 30 years. I'm not going to go get rid of it. So yeah, that part is definitely a challenge. The good news is, for the most part, right, people can go research this, find this stuff around, go learn more. I mean, we all know this has changed. If you're smart, you don't go to your doctor and just do whatever he says. You walk and go, this is me. I researched what you told me I had. Here's all this stuff I found. What about this? Half the time your doctors don't even know. They don't know what that is. Oh, I don't know. Let me research that a little bit. The other extreme, my doctor, who's fortunately passed away, she's not with us anymore. Very frustrating because I know more about blood pressure and cholesterol than anyone would want to ever. Right. And I walked in, I said, here's a summary of that. I need you to read this. And she turned her head away and said, I'm not going to look at it. If the American Medical Association doesn't recommend it, I don't want to know about it. I go, that's pathetic. And she goes, so there's that mindset, right? Is I don't want to get sued, go outside what the American Medical Association recommends because I'm protected by them. But more and more people, more and more doctors and stuff are leaning away from that and trying stuff like this because the results are exciting. I went in as a skeptic, like energy therapy, reverse arthritis, is a bunch of crap. Go to PubMed, type in PEMF, you're going to find 6,000 articles, 6,000 in PubMed. There's been about 35,000 papers published over the years on this technology, a lot of them outside the US. The reasons I said earlier is Carnegie and Rockefeller screwed that up for us, but not for you guys, but for the US.
Yeah. So, on that note, something that you say as well is something I've noticed while looking at everything that you do, really, is the future of medicine is in the frequency. So if we look at the next decade, the next couple of decades, then obviously you kind of alluded to it there where you said, it takes 15 years at least for things to get integrated, and that's after a big approval process. So if that's a little bit of a dead end right now, really, in going massively mainstream, where do you see it going in the next couple of decades? Obviously there's a role here for this device to, play in preventative and integrative healthcare. So how do you see that sort of evolving? Not into the technology, but also the product as well. So where do you see the improvements lying, and what can we kind of expect to see from it, do you think?
Well, we've come out with, so I just showed you the pendant that we came out with. Next month, we're going to be coming out with a watch that is got biomarkers, right? So heart rate variability, which is super important, sleep, blood pressure, blood sugar. So you'll be able to measure what the things are doing, right, from a biomarker point of view. We have this is really out there, but you can infuse the energy into cream or water, and the water will hold it for about 6 hours. The cream will hold it for about 30 days. Now, nobody in the world can prove that because mankind has not figured out how to measure frequency in water yet that anyone agrees to. Okay. But anecdotally, you can see that, like, you put the back pain into the cream, and the cream seems to last about 30 days to apply it yourself. So we have a quadruple peptide frequency infused anti-wrinkle system coming out next month. So nobody in the world has that. We've already filed a patent for it, for wrinkles. Now, technically, I got to say anti-aging, because if you say anti-wrinkle, FDA says that means it's a drug. Not a drug, it's cream with energy in it. Okay. And the SUVs will show up at the front door when I show you this, but I'm going to anyway. This is going to be Blue Vibe. This is going to go on the inside of your wrist or the back of your neck. It is PEMF and blue light therapy. A little magnet in there showing you what it's doing. You can hear it.
Oh yeah.
Same as with the Vibe. Huh. We're not going to try and sell this until we go prove in a clinical trial with third-party independent doctors and stuff that it works. But yeah, that could reverse Alzheimer's. And people go, that's BS. MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, they discovered 40 hertz reverses Alzheimer's by accident. Okay, they just had rats in a box with a white rope light flickering at 40 hertz, studying something completely different than Alzheimer's. Then when they noticed the mice were acting different, more cognitive. They were doing tasks faster and better and cleaner and clearer. And then doing biopsies on the brain, they saw the plaque was disappearing. So anyone can go Google this, MIT 40 hertz Alzheimer's. You'll go find out, and they're doing human trials now. I know this is going to work. I just got to go collect all the data.
Wow. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, these products, they clearly have a massive future, and you're the perfect pioneer really to be pushing them forward. It's really exciting stuff, and I can't wait to see where it all goes. But I think, one of the big questions I want to ask you as well, something I've always asked people at the back end of these shows as well, is just on a personal front with your own legacy and stuff too. Number one, if you had a moment to speak to a younger version of you as well and give a little bit of advice to a young person listening in, or even like a young version of you in that sense, really just kind of 12, 13 years old, looking for a bit of life and where to go in a bit of direction maybe, and, in hindsight, seeing some of the mistakes and also the great things along the way, what would you tell a young version of you? And then beyond that as well, just with the work that you're doing now, beyond these products, what's in it for you on a legacy front as well? I'd love to know a little bit more about where you see yourself going in the future. And yeah, that would be great. It's a bit of past and a bit of future.
Yeah, what would I do if looking back and stuff is, I'm old, I'm 64. So what we were all taught, when I was growing up was you went to a corporate job and you stayed there usually your whole career, right? And so I was in aerospace for a long time. I wish I would have got out sooner. I liked working in it, but just getting to try and do new stuff. I mean, I'm 64. I'm probably at the coolest point in my career of having the most fun. And crap, my runway is not that long. I wish I had more years yet to go try other things and different things and stuff. because I'm really excited about learning new things. I mean, that's probably what keeps me going the most. Going forward with the products and stuff, one of my main goals, I've dreamed a couple things that I don't think we covered yet, is I'd like to put myself out of business. So what I mean, for example, is in your phone, you have a Qi coil in there. Most every new phone does to charge it, right? So, you put it up, a magnetic charge up against it, like you said on your thing, and it's going to charge the battery. I actually put a contest out on Facebook for $25,000 that said, someone hacked the OS of the phone. Show me how to do that with an app so that I can, instead of energy going through the coil into the battery, that we're pushing the MP3 files out of the coil. That way I could turn every phone into a vibe and get rid of the vibe. And that way I could have mass, you could have an app for a couple dollars and the whole world could use it. So that's exciting to me. I put a challenge out there and everyone's telling me, you can't do that. That's impossible. And that just makes it funner. Because I know it's not impossible. I just got to find the right smartest person that knows how to hack the OS system, right? So the other one is, we talked about this before, the energy can be delivered with electrical current, like a TENS unit, magnetic fields like PEMF, light, sound, or vibration. I really want to do lights. So all the smart bulbs that are in the world is just be able, now this is one of my dreams, to be able to go, hey, Alexa, run depression in the living room. And then it just runs the protocols through the lights. So you can use existing light bulbs. We already developed an app to do that, but Philips and the other smart bulbs and any light bulb, when you turn the light on the wall, it doesn't just come on. They're all designed to ramp up over a couple 100 milliseconds so it doesn't shock your eyes in the middle of the night, when you get up to go to the bathroom, right? So I got to get around that bridge somehow to be able to turn it off 1,000 times a second if I was doing 1,000 hertz. And everyone goes, well, just make your own light bulb. Well, I could, but that's not the point. I want to take the billions of dollars worth of light bulbs that are already out there and turn them into therapy devices. So again, that I think would be really cool. Again, putting myself out of business twice, make an app for the phone or use lights that exist. And of course, everyone is on the AI hype, and I'm in the middle of it as well. I wasn't using any AI 8 months ago, and I can't imagine living without it today on the amount of things that we're using. So the cool stuff in this world of having it look into the data, it's like we got the watch coming out right soon. In fact, anyway, big hurdle, but I got something working on it that I couldn't get it to work last night. So anyway, it's now working like it's supposed to. But that'll be super cool, of just the insights where it might come up and say, hey, did you think about this? Run that protocol for that. And it's like, no, okay. And that's kind of what doctors and some of our partners and everyone's doing now. They're using a logical thing of, hey, in the core protocol, this one doesn't match exactly what that is. And they're just making educated guesses. So our educated guesses are going to get 100 billion times better because of these AI tools and things that we have today to look at it better. And it's always going to be kind of a weird thing, I think, in the quote medical world, is you still want a human factor in there, sort of, maybe, but then I have this debate with myself, right? Well, I don't let my team send out, we use AI a lot for answers, but we don't send it to a customer until we review it, right, with a human eye. But I've thought about that, and how many people do hospitals kill a year due to mistakes? So at what point is AI going to be better than the human reviewing it? That's right around the corner. Might be next week, right? So that could happen so fast that that whole fear factor of that, not having the human review of it. But we kill a lot of people in hospitals, and doctors we cut off limbs by accident. We do a lot of mistakes in the medical world. So it's not a high bar for AI to get, a better batting average than what we're doing by ourselves without it. So I think all that's, obviously I use AI tons in my business, and I can just tell you, for example, something that would have taken me 25 hours of analysis to do this morning took 4 seconds. Okay, we looked at 90,000 records here, 20,000 records here, combine this, and give me a plan, right? And it did all of that literally in 5 seconds. So anyway, that's all of that. I think I want to some of my friends pick on me. They go, dude, do you want to live forever? I go, like, I don't want to live forever, but I want to see what happens next. I think it's just super fun to see what's going to happen next week. So anyway, that kind of keeps me going.
It certainly does, and it's a lot of work to be done. But I mean, it's clear how quick this is moving. And as I said, a pioneer like yourself leading the front with this one, it's really important. And I think we should probably at this stage now, I'd love to figure out where to go to obviously find out more about this and grab some products or be in the kind of the pipeline really for the new things that are coming out that you've obviously alluded to here today. So if we say that's the 4 questions for today, if we hit the shameless plug now, I think that's a great place to go into that then. So obviously what we usually say here, take a minute or a couple of minutes just to promote everything that you're working on. I mean, obviously we know what you're working on, so maybe just hit up the websites, any social media, any kind of time frames on when some of the next things are coming out as well, so we can be on the newsletter or anything like that too. So just useful links, and also beyond that as well, just any essential reading you think people should do as well about this if they need to go and learn more before they buy into it as well.
Yeah. So, okay. The website's Resona, RESONA.health. There's no .com. So Resona.health, it's short for resonance. I would just start there. You can go to our shop. I have like a book called What on Earth Are We Doing to Our Health for like $1. My new book called Go Find Joy. We just finished actually the final copy, published it tomorrow. So we finally got that. So there's those type of things they can go look at. And they don't have to go just to my website either, right? Just go, if they're skeptical, and they should be, that this is all voodoo and it doesn't work, just start with PubMed, right? If you're a techie guy and you want to go dig into the nuts and bolts, go to PubMed, type in PEMF, and you'll find 6,000 articles, published articles on it. So people can go do that to find more information. You should be skeptical about it. That's why we have money back guarantee on stuff. And it doesn't work for everyone. So I don't want anyone in the world to have one. If it didn't work for you, send it back. We'll give you your money back. So that's all I really need to plug. I think the new stuff coming out. So one thing we know with PEMF is you got to be hydrated. And we also know if you don't have the right electrolytes and the right chemistry, especially magnesium, it doesn't work as well either, or you can boost it a lot. So we have something called PEMF booster, which is literally, seriously, 4 seconds before we started this podcast, we just put that on the website. So we've been trying to get that going. My IT support team in India, apparently it's festival, whatever, and the whole country's on break. So trying to get that up. But anyway, that's up and running. We have the anti-wrinkle, anti-aging system cream coming out next month. The watch will come out next month. The Alzheimer's one, that's probably the one I'm most excited about, even though I haven't sold a single one yet. And I'm not going to till I prove it works. And it won't be for Alzheimer's because of the FDA. It will be for MCI, moderate cognitive impairment, right? Because I can stay out of trouble by saying that a little less. So, but yeah, we have here's good news, bad news. Cool news there is I have the best doctor in the world lined up to do the study. Bad news is it costs a lot of money. I got to go find that money or find a donor, but we'll do it. If I got to fund it myself somehow, we will. But I want to go get that study first before we try and market it, just for that reason of getting slaughtered by people, the government and everything. But that everyone knows that how big an issue that is with me, baby boomers, and all of us getting older. And I have friends, right, that you watch their parents that had Alzheimer's, and the burden on the entire family and system is horrendous. It's awful to go watch that. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about hoping that will work.
Absolutely. Every right to be. It's going to be an interesting project, and I'm watching with very, very interested eyes. But for now, I just want to say, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on, and thank you for taking the time to do this, and keep doing the great work, keep fighting the good fight, because what you're doing looks like it's really working very well, and I can't wait to see just how far you take it.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I loved doing this one. It was super fun.
It was an absolute pleasure. And thank you guys for listening too. This was episode 166. If you'd like to listen to the past episodes, go and have a look at the channel. And if you'd like to listen in for the future ones as well, make sure to hit that subscribe button and spread some love by leaving a like and a comment. See you in the next one. Good night. Cheers.